I've done a lot since the last time I filmed. I put in these things which close the gap in our hinge so I can open them during summer. Got the whole outside parged. I haven't parged the inside, so I'll film parging that. I'll film a bit while I'm parging that. Then started filling in this gap. I put the front on, and also put zinc to close the gap between the Coop and the run, so it's all relatively waterproof now. Did the electrics, put this in, which before the red pipe just ended down there and all the water went in it, so I extended the red pipe up to here and built a little shelter for the fuse box and the plug. I will run a line into the chicken coop for the light in there once I get the old chicken coop out. And I just put this on the front. This is actually screwed into the concrete fence post. I just drilled 2 holes into the concrete on either side. I used a rotary hammer so that there wouldn't be quite as much vibration as a regular hammer drill, and also I used a sharp bit and made sure that I didn't hit the rebar. I was above the rebar because I tested it on a scrap and found that if I hit the rebar or was below the rebar, rather than drilling a hole, it would just chip the bottom off. So I put this piece on to connect foxproofing on. The foxproofing is 40 centimeters into the ground. I used this wire rather than this because this is a bit easier to make neat and also is a bit stiffer. This is just woven, whereas this is stuck together at all the joints. So foxproofing is on. Then I've repaired these pieces, put in that piece, and these 3 pieces, put those on to hold the door frame. And I also put the hinges on. There's 3 of them, and there's 3 pieces going across to this piece. So the door frame should be really secure now. Although I am going to put some more on the inside just to keep it extra solid. Then I tied the bottom of this and that one to this rail. So it's all secure now. Now I just need to fill in this gap and that gap, which I'm doing right now. This is the wire I'm using. It's just left over from when I built the run. The nice thing about this wire is that you don't really have to cut it. You just unweave a strand where you want it to, split it, and also you can weave it back together if you want, although I'll see how easy that is. When fastening wire to a chicken coop or anything you want to be secure, it's important to make sure that you use galvanized narrow crown staples. These are about 1/4 inch wide, they're 18 gauge, and they're about 15 centimeters long. Any shorter than that and they're just gonna pull out too easily. Also, I like using the narrow ones because that way, hold on here. They aren't much wider than the wire, so they hold it good and proper to the wood. So I always use these narrow crown staples. So today I'm pulling out the old Coop. I'll be putting the floor in. So I'm gonna take the nest boxes out after lunch just because I know the girls want to lay. Right now I'm just pulling the roof off. And the old coop is going to the dump. So I finished getting the old coop out. Now I'm starting to build the floor frame. And I didn't want to have to drill into the bricks, but I drilled into the bricks after all just because there wasn't really enough of a lip. Wasn't really enough of a lip on the concrete. So it's still sitting on the concrete. But I drilled a few holes carefully into the brick. Didn't use a hammer drill, just a normal drill, and went slowly so that I didn't break anything. But now these are on, and I gotta do something for the front. And then I'll put cross pieces, and then I can put floorboards. And these girls want to lay. But I couldn't really wait for them because it's getting pretty late already and I still have to do the whole floor yet before nighttime just so that they're safe. But I'm sure they'll figure out that I've just dropped the nest boxes over there. Starting to frame the floor in. So I finished the floor frame. I put all these little supports down so they're sitting on the ground. I'm putting the lumber down. And I drill pilot hole. And then I drill a countersink. And I've started using these Wura driver bits. They sure fit a lot better than the Bosch, and I'm hoping they're gonna last a lot longer because they were €7 a piece for these Wura bits. I'm just screwing them down with Torx 5x50s, and then these three boards are gonna be split here because the nest box will be here. And if I ever need to get underneath, I can just pull these boards up and get underneath without having to disturb the nest. And there is plywood in the window because we don't have any glass. And I'm just using my uni light to provide the light in here. It actually is pretty good for such a small light. Anybody who has ever bought a multi-tool probably knows that they come with this weird chisel thing that nobody ever uses. And I think it's for scraping up tiles or something, but it actually worked pretty good at scraping some of the concrete that I needed to scrape off the rails in there. And it's about half worn out already after the 5 minutes I used it, but it sure was very, very useful to have, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do such a good job with the grinders. So they come, multi-tools come with these things for a reason, and really, although the multi-tool can be used for sanding and regular work, most of the time it comes in when you can't get any other tool like a grinder or a reciprocating saw into that area and you have to cut something. So the multi-tool has definitely been very handy on this chicken coop, especially with taking the old chicken coop out. So I'm using spacers. These are just 1/8 inch. That way when I wash the floor there's somewhere for the water to go. probably don't need to be countersinking, but it makes nicer holes for the screw heads. The lights on these tools sure are handy when you're working in the semi-darkness. I just finished parching. This is what I'm using to parch with. It is just a mixture of white lime and cement. And I mix it 1 part of that to 3 parts of sand. This is what it looks like. Although this mix is about as runny as you want to go. You don't want it too firm, because if it's too firm it doesn't smoosh over the wall very good. And I'll wash the floor yet, but I'm just letting the stuff around the bottom dry a bit first. So that's what it looks like. It's best to do as much as possible in one go so that you don't get stuff like that. And then inside it, at the corners, you can just stop and let it dry if you want, because the corners come up to each other, so a lot easier to do the inside corners than the outside corners. And I just brought it flush to the floor. But yeah, I think it looks good in here. And it dries really hard. This stuff in here isn't quite dry yet, but it's still pretty hard. It's good to give it a good rubbing with the float thing, because that brings the lime to the surface and puts the sand at the back so that you have a nice smooth hard surface. You have a nice smooth hard surface so that when you wash it, the water will run off rather than getting all stuck in all the cracks, and also dust and stuff won't get stuck in it. And this is what I use to just smooth it on. I sort of just throw a hunk on there, smoosh it on, half of it falls off half the time, rub it around, and then grab another glob and repeat until the whole wall's done. It's a bit of a time-consuming process, but it leaves a nice finish. I'm building the perch. So this is 40 by 60. Just made a frame. Then these are 25 by 50s. I'm just screwing them across. Chickens prefer flat perches to round perches I've found. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to mount it in the coop. Perch is installed. So rather than drilling holes into the wall, I just put these feet on it, screwed them to the perch, and then their toes screwed to the base here. And it is, as you can see, level. So yeah, looks good. Athena and Fortuna are already trying it out. So the final step, just putting some chicken wire up here. As you know, I put vents on the outside, so this way birds can't get in when the vents are open. Put some on this side too. Just use my air compressor and the staple gun. And though that chicken wire is just scraps I had lying around. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.